some new stuff keeps coming out about coronavirus, and I do not want this story to go away until there's been some accountability here. Because I think one of the greatest injustices isn't that we destroyed our society and destroyed our economy and destroyed our kids' education and kept people from going to church, and we destroyed people's social media accounts for saying things that turned out to be true, and spent $6 trillion and caused rampant inflation. I'm like, there's all kinds of negative stuff that happened because of COVID. Now, if some of it was just made out of oops, human error, you can forgive that. But if we destroyed all of this and it was either intentional or at least recklessly neglectful, then people need to be held accountable. Someone needs to go to jail. Someone needs to pay. Their justice needs to be served. And in the latest batch of new emails that came out from a Freedom of Information Act request from your guy, Rand Paul. Well, if he's not your guy, he's my guy. And this is stuff that we are just learning, I should say confirming, since the beginning of the year. And I say confirming because you already knew this. And you and I can look at stuff that, okay, it's circumstantial and it's hearsay and it's just sort of a coincidence, but it's too much of a coincidence. We didn't have to know that the virus came from the Wuhan Respiratory Virology Coronavirus Institute. We didn't have to have the paper trail and anything. We just recognized the coincidence that this disease, this upper respiratory coronavirus, came from the same place as where the institute of the same name is. It's the Jon Stewart broke that one down and busted that one wide open. But there's always been this level of separation. And it's gotten as thin as a Kleenex, but the separation's gone. We know Fauci went out and denied the lab leak theory. He pushed the fact that it naturally arose from a wet market. Now, I am going to do in this what I do in so many of these other stories, especially with the Hunter Biden laptop or Joe Biden saying he never did business dealings or whatever. It's not the fact that they lied about it. It's that because they're lying, you know there is something guilty behind it. So let me get you caught up on some of the new emails, and then we can, I say draw a conclusion, but again, it's going to solidify the conclusion you already made. It's just going to be impossible to argue against you now. You were right this whole time, and you deserve credit. So if you want to see the whole story on this, there's a fantastic breakdown by Rand Paul. He wrote this, and I found it on reason.com. Rand Paul wrote this out. So he goes through all these emails that he got, not just from Fauci himself, but his little comrades around him at the National Institutes of Health. And here's what some of them were saying in behind the scenes email. They didn't say this publicly, but at the time in 2020, evolutionary biologist Christian Anderson wrote, the lab escape version of this is so friggin', that's what he said, friggin', likely to have happened because they were already doing this type of work and the molecular data is fully consistent with that scenario. Epidemiologist Ian Lipkin said the nightmare of circumstantial evidence to assess regarding the possibility of inadvertent release, giving the scale of bat corona research pursued in Wuhan, China. Virologist Bob Gary said at the time, I really can't think of a plausible natural scenario when you get from the bat virus or one very similar to it to COVID-19 where you insert exactly 4 amino acids, 12 nucleotides, and all have to be added at the exact same time to gain this function. Oh, he used gain of function? Yeah, he did. Hang on. I just can't figure out how this gets accomplished in nature. It's not crackpot to suggest this could have happened given the gain of function research we know was happening in Wuhan. Wow. So not only did he spell out just by the structure of the amino acids that, of course, this was made in a lab, and of course, is probably that lab. And of course, what they were doing with that is called gain of function research. He used that term twice in the same email. Ralph Barrick. He is a world famous gain of function researcher. This is his specialty. This is his job. He was a collaborator with the Wuhan Institute of Virology. The doctor that is accused of maybe making the virus that leaked. He admitted, so the Wuhan Institute of Virology has a very large collection of viruses in their laboratory. And so, proximity is a problem. It's a problem. Fauci himself privately acknowledged concerns about gain-of-function research. He said mutations in the virus that suggest it might have been engineered on emails that were just a few days before the proximal origin paper. Now, you don't remember what the proximal origin paper, but all these people I just quoted, Anderson, Lipkin, Gary, Fauci, they published the proximal origin paper as the top scientists in their field and disseminated it to their political allies and their media bedwetters and said, we do not believe that any type of laboratory-based scenario is plausible. So the whole proximal origin paper was a lie. It was known to be a lie at the time they wrote it. We now have the conversations that we're having in a background where they're saying the opposite privately, what they said to you publicly. The news was more than happy to run with it. Sympathetic politicians and power-hungry tyrants all over planet Earth loved the excuse to seize what they love more than anything else, power. And they get to do more of what they love to do, spend money, even if they have to print it out of thin air. And then on top of that, we still don't have the whole story from everyone else involved, because also in Rand Paul's article here, he points out how David Morenz of the National Institute of Health deleted emails that could have contained valuable insights to early discussions about how and when the virus originated. That's illegal. The Office of the Director of National Intelligence, ODNI, failed to comply with the law passed by Congress unanimously to declassify information on the origins of COVID. They still haven't declassified their info on the origins of COVID. Excuse me, what's the holdup? The Department of Health and Human Services and NIH have not produced documents related to gain-of-function research that Senate Homeland Security Chief Chair Gary Peters, that's a Democrat, by the way, and Rand Paul requested nearly a year ago. And just last week, a House committee released its findings that the HHS and NIH, they did engage in deliberate, prolonged efforts to deceive the committee about certain gain-of-function experiments. You can go read about this on Reason.com. It's Rand Paul's article on all the stuff that he and that investigation are slowly uncovering day by day. We only know about half of this stuff because whistleblowers. A bunch of emails got deleted. A bunch of evidence was hidden illegally. But it's whistleblowers are the reason Rand Paul and that committee learned about EcoHealth Alliance partnering with that Wuhan Institute of Virology on an NIH grant. It's whistleblowers that gave the documentation saying that research was how to make these viruses more dangerous. It was whistleblowers that revealed that 3 scientists who worked at that institute got COVID in the fall of 2019 before the rest of us knew what COVID was. Each of these whistleblowers are the only reason we know about this, because all the people who are supposed to hold on to this evidence went on a crazy deleting spree. I don't know if they would bleach bit at anything or hit it with hammers, but it's the same thing. So here's the summary of what they've been hiding here. These medical experts funded with your dollars a Chinese lab to do research that is illegal here because it's considered so dangerous. They boo-booed and accidentally let the virus get out. They immediately concocted a story, lied to you about it, and look at how easy it was to get everyone in the media and everyone in the political sphere on board with the lie. These people are not smart. They are not criminal masterminds. They are just liars. And if the whole world doesn't fall and crumble down on all of these people who destroyed our economy and our society and all these other horrible consequences from the coronavirus panic, if they don't get justice, then there is no justice. What are we all here for? I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about it. If we're not going to do what it takes to hold these people accountable, I don't want to hear any more griping about your rights in the future or about inflation or things are so expensive. No, you don't care if things are so expensive. This was forced upon you by liars and you're not doing anything about it. You just don't like paying the higher costs. It's not fun. It's not easy. I know it'd be easier to just let it go and walk off into the sunset, but it's not. 800-288-WBAP. I'll continue next on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, welcome to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Some recently released emails and a column by Rand Paul on Reason.com. Kind of puts the end to some of these conspiracy theories and makes them conspiracy facts. Not only did Fauci lie about not funding the lab, they were funding the lab. Not only did he lie about they're not doing gain-of-function research, they're doing gain-of-function research. Not only did he lie about the origin, it wasn't naturally from some bat kissed a turtle. It came from that lab. And it's not theory anymore. This isn't me just speculating and putting together some puzzle pieces based on hearsay and whatnot. They all knew it. They all knew it at the beginning. They never didn't know it. And everything they said that didn't go along with that was a known lie at the time. So now we need to just start breaking down the next level. What does all this mean? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Hey, Rich. Rich and Alan, you're on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. What do you think?
Who's on?
Rich and Alan.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so from the beginning, this all happened in January of 2020.
Yes.
January 2020. And Trump puts the ban on China travel. And then, a couple of weeks later, Nancy Pelosi's in San Francisco in Chinatown because nobody's going there, saying, oh, yeah, come on in. Come on down to Chinatown. I mean, and they released it on purpose, I think. I think they released it on purpose because they wanted to attack Trump, just like they've been doing for the last 10 years. And they haven't got him on anything. But, they're shutting everything down. They were shutting, schools and everything down. What happened to the flu? It disappeared. I never got COVID, so I don't know. I know a couple people that said they did, and it was bad. But the flu's bad too. So I don't know if it's COVID.
Okay, so here, I think you're close. I don't think they released it on purpose. I think they took advantage of the release, just like they did in other governments all over the place. Italy shut down before we did, and we had all kinds of crazy concentration camps going on in places like Australia and whatnot. And it doesn't have to be like a coordinated effort. If there is a boo-boo like this, the power-hungry tyrants of the world already know what to do without coordinating. Oh, I get to seize more power. I get to spend more money. Even if we don't have it in the budget, I can just print it and I have an excuse because we get everyone scared, and I can close down businesses and choose which ones I get to stay open, and my little rich friends can still have their big box stores open, but you little guys are all going to get crushed. Oh, they loved it. But I don't think they did it on purpose. I don't think they did it on purpose because they would have hid it better if they had done it on purpose. If they were going to take that virus and release it, they wouldn't have done it next door to that lab. And they wouldn't have had the three doctors get sick in 2019 and probably accidentally spread it out. They would have taken that thing and they would have chunked a vial of virus somewhere in like a jungle or in an inner city in America or something. It wouldn't have been this sloppy. And I think you're giving them too much credit because...
This administration has done nothing but lie. Nothing but lie for the last 4 years.
Well, that's what every opposition says about it when the other guy's in power. That's what I heard from Democrats for 4 years. All Trump does is lie. And then that's what they say now. All he does is lie. That's all they do is lie. Well, let's get past that. Okay, so they're lying. Yeah. So what? Well... what does that lie mean? Like when your husband lies about being out where he was until 4 a.m, we don't care about the lie. We care about the cheating he was doing while he was out there. So it looks like, and here's one exercise I want you to do, Rich, and everyone else listening. Anyway, anytime they talk about viral gain of function research, there's another synonym I want you to input into that sentence instead of that. How about creating a damn bioweapon? That's what a viral gain of function research is. You're creating a bioweapon. And so what the hell are we doing collaborating with the Chinese Communist Party scientists on how to make the most efficient viral bioweapons? What are we doing spending American taxpayer dollars? We kind of have a big debt and deficit and inflation problem going, but we got money to collaborate with the Chinese communists on bioweapons? I think that's what they're trying to cover up. And I think that the whole gain of function research is illegal in America. And so that's one of the reasons they're forced to go over there and do stuff that's so dangerous it's illegal here. There's like 10 bad things going on. So we're doing research that's so damn dangerous it's illegal here, and our collaborators are the Chinese Communist Party, and they're doing it with your money, Rich.
Yeah, I know they are. And Fauci wanted to do it in Carolina or something.
He did. Yes. In fact,
evidently Obama said no, but then he went behind his back and did it in China. He even admitted he did it in China. Yes.
That's it. That's exactly. Now, we've put all the pieces of the puzzle together, and whatever. That's step 1, step 2. We're now in step 3 or step 4. At the end of this, Fauci needs to go to jail.
Yeah, he does. He does.
All right. Well,
I totally agree.
thank you very much, Rich and Al. I'm sorry, I'm just out of time for this segment, bud. I wish we could keep going. So my lunch today, I went to Jimmy John's. This is not an advertisement for them. They're not going to like what I have to say, actually. I went through and I got a regular old sandwich and I got the chips and a drink. Got the combo, large. Guess how much it was? $14.07. That's just me eating cheap food. I'm not going to Three Forks. I'm not going to go get a prime rib. I'm not going to go get a tomahawk steak. That was a Jimmy John's. That was a ham sandwich and some chips and a Diet Dr. Pepper. $14. Terrible, isn't it? Grocery store is terrible, isn't it? The price of everything's going up. Your price of your rent's going up, price of everything. That's just one of the many things that we are still dealing with based upon these lies around COVID. And it didn't just crush us here in America. I mean, how many countries just voluntarily destroyed their own economy and the standard of living for their common folk for as long as they could possibly hold them underwater? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Some new emails came out. They knew it was a lab leak. They knew it was their lab that leaked. They knew it was their virus that they were researching that leaked. They knew it was their gain of function that got out. They knew that they were funding it with your dollars. From day one, they never not knew that. Every time Fauci went out and he tried to cast shade on the idea that it was leaked from a lab, he knew it was a lie when he said it. Is he going to be held accountable? Is he just going to get to skate, retire, live happily ever after, laugh jogging over the horizon, lighting cigars with $100 bills? Or are we going to do something about it? Keith, this is Keith in Sunnyvale. You're on the James Show. What do you think?
Well, you talked earlier with a gentleman about the Fauci scandal with all the viral stuff. I'm a pharmacist, and one of the things when we did some research about it on the internet, and there was a guy that was, and I don't remember his name, but he was a doctorate of anti-vax guy, and he got like several PhDs, and he had a pretty good long commentary about it. But one of the things that wasn't brought out is that when Fauci was denied doing all that work in the U.S. and they kicked that out to the bucket, he took it to China, and I guess the material kind of suggested it was pharmaceutical companies and medicine vaccine companies that encouraged it to go out, because if you develop something that's deadly, guess who's going to have the cure? They are. They're going to, if they expose somebody to it and people are going to say, oh, we got this new strain or whatever. Oh, but we have the cure.
Okay, I'm not saying you're wrong, but is there an example of that happening before, or is this just a fanciful concoction of what could be?
I think it's possibly happened thing called COVID, but I didn't say that out loud.
Yeah, okay. I get what you're saying. Well, look, I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't put that past them. We've never seen that before, and they could have done that before, and I just don't know about it. I do have.
Well, he's so profit orientated in keeping his job.
No. Okay, see, now that's why I'm asking the question, because what profit is there in him doing that? Because he's he's the highest paid guy in the federal government, as strange as that sounds. Anthony Fauci, his last full year of employment, made more money than the president, made more money than all of our 4-star generals who are in control of an $800 billion military. So profit motive, he's not getting kickbacks or anything from these guys. Where do you see a profit motive there?
We don't know if he is or isn't. And the other thing is, if I'm the guy that has the cure, I'm even more famous and more popular than I think that I am for myself. I don't know. To me, it's just kind of like a little bit on the narcissistic side for him. I don't know.
Well, he's definitely a narcissist, but I think you're giving the government way too much credit. It's one of the reasons why, without having to go into all the details and nuance of the day, that I think the 9/11 conspiracy theories are more likely to be incorrect, because you're giving the government way too much credit. They can't mastermind all that. They can't secretly rig Building 7 with explosives without there being a ton of whistleblowers or some sort of video evidence. They I mean, you see how poorly they can build charging stations for EVs.
Yeah, I'm more focused on Fauci, though, because his credibility with me is as far as science and stuff. I don't really care for the fact that he was told, don't do it, not do it, and he takes it to the Chinese. And the only thing I could see is that he might be motivated by some weird, twisted thing like, well, either I'm going to get my name written up in medical history because I've got this cure for this deadly disease the Chinese made, And I wasn't part of that, but he really was. And that kind of thing just kind of bugged me. And that's kind of what the anti-vaxxer PhD guy had talked about a little bit. And I said, man, there might be some truth to that.
Okay, but
it's speculation.
Let me tell you where I'm sympathetic on that conspiracy theory, because that doesn't do America or the American government any good if we go develop a lab and it's in collaboration with the Chinese Communist Party. But the Chinese Communist Party certainly wants it. And so are they paying him under the table? Are they paying him in some account that hasn't been exposed yet? Because he does have a multi-million-dollar house, and there's right. some questions on how he got so rich, even though he was making $400,000 a year. Right. Is this all adding up, or is there money coming from somewhere we don't know about? I wouldn't be surprised if we found that out one day. This is the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.